Welcome to the Upshot, Multi-World Disc Golf's podcast about the latest in the disc golf world. I am the publisher, Charlie Eisenhood. Joining me for the third week as guest host is Jay Yeti Redding. Jay, what's going on? How are you?
Hey, Charlie. What's up, Upshot listeners? Doing good today.
How are we doing today? We got some nice music in the background. Tell us about it. What do we got today?
Yeah, well, we've got the Lone Star Classic coming up here in Austin, Texas. So I'm going with one of my favorite Austin bands. This is straight rock and roll from White Denim. Little four-piece, old school rock and roll, kind of a psychedelic, experimental prog rock together. I mean, these guys, they started in around 2008, and one of their big first investments was a studio, right? And I mean, that's where all musicians craft and create material. So they built their own studio, and man, these guys have been putting out something every year. They've been doing a ton of live, shows in this studio that they've been putting out to the world over COVID. But White Denim, you can't go wrong with any of their albums as a tester, because they follow the same formula, yet they don't follow the same formula at all. And one of my first really cool impressions of them was actually at a music festival where I was doing disc golf. We did a temporary disc golf course at the Utopia Fest down in Utopia, Texas. Little bitty burg of just
Texas.
Utopia, Texas.
That's an awesome city name.
Well, for 200 people, it sure is. It's kind of in the middle of a kind of southwest central, and this ranch is an oasis. It's surrounded by three, mountains in Texas, but hills for everybody else. Just at a gorgeous natural amphitheater. And White Denim came on, and they just blew the roof off of the place. And I happened to be doing a little disc golf talk with a mother and her child, and we were doing some putting, and it was right behind, in front of the stage, I guess, at a distance where the music was sweet. I was able to listen to that, and then all of a sudden this little airplane comes diving in, right buzzing the whole crowd. It made everybody like, whoa. And then it doubled back around, and now it had all of our attention. And as the song crescendo, then these guys were just rocking out. It came by again, and all these colored objects came flying out of the plane. And I remember, the kid he just dropped his disc, and of course, like all kids, he went running after, and all these colored objects coming out of the plane. And as the air caught him, it ended up being panties and bras. And mom was like, oh, Jimmy, and of course she's laughing. We were, it was hilarious. I mean, what a move. Talk about rock and roll.
Y'all crazy down in Texas. That's awesome.
We like to have a good time.
It makes me pine for going to a concert. I mean, it's been so long since we've been able to go to a concert.
It's coming.
That's awesome.
It's coming. Yeah.
Do you know what tomorrow is, Jay?
Tomorrow? Is it the Foolest of Fool days?
It is. It's April Fool's Day, but even more importantly, baseball season. Oh. You got to be watching on YouTube right now. I got that San Francisco Giants beanie right there.
Look at that.
I'm getting pumped up for MLB opening day.
Well, I got to admit, I am too. I got the Cubbies pinstripes on. Thank you, William Murray and the Bill Murray brothers. Chive on.
How are you feeling? How are you feeling about your Cubs to start the year?
Well, optimism as always, right? I mean, that's the Cubs legacy. Every year is going to be the year. And, throughout my entire childhood, I became more and more desperate as a Saints and a lonely Cubs fan. And, luckily both my teams have produced it early in my lifetime. So, Cubs had a solid, spring season. We don't really judge too much on spring ball, but, there's some worries in there too. We're making sure that we got our full team together. Anthony Rizzo, stalwart for the team. So is Chris Bryant and Javier Baez. And, I think we're looking, solid. I'm pretty happy about it. How about you? What are you thinking?
Look, the Giants are going to be a pretty good team. They're going to be a pretty good team. We had one of the best offenses in the league last year, which is a nice change for us. I feel like that's the first time we've had a great offense since I can remember. Even when we won all of our World Series last decade, We won 3 World Series in 5 years, but I don't really know how. I mean, we just had great pitching. We never had a good offense, but like always some random guy, Cody Ross decides he's going to get red hot in the postseason. So
Super
the problem
pitching.
is, Yeti, we're in the same division as the Dodgers and the Padres. And so I'm just going to be honest. Like, I'm going to watch, I'm going to enjoy. Maybe we have a super outside shot at a wild card spot, but we just got to play a lot of games against 2 of the very best teams in the league. I mean, the Dodgers may be one of the best teams ever. I mean, they're insane. They have like starting quality people who would be like the 2 or 3 pitcher in our rotation, like on their bench. So, you know what? It is what it is. We're still going to beat LA. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, that's a big road bump to jump over for sure. But I mean, that's what makes all those games so interesting to watch. And let's face it, I mean, here we go. We may be seeing some stadiums filling back up before the end of the year. And
that's right.
There is no place to be than a MLB stadium and watching baseball live.
I agree 100%. Being able to be outdoors, I mean, even in limited capacities, I expect to be at a baseball game at some point in the next couple months. I am signed up to get my vaccination tomorrow, my first COVID vaccination. So I'm excited about that. And
congratulations. Ours is today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. We're getting there.
Yes.
We have a lot to talk about in disc golf land. I know you were at the Texas State Disc Golf Championships down in Tyler, Texas. Looked like there was, for the most part, beautiful weather. I know it was a little rainy there on day 2. But how was the tournament? What'd you think?
Yeah, great production value there. Tyler, Texas is one of these cities that's in the middle of a lot of land. I mean, it's 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 about maybe an hour to Dallas Fort Worth, but it's just far enough away from even the burbs of Dallas Fort Worth where it's its own entity. And the Rose City Disc Golf Club has done a tremendous job of building up a destination for disc golf. And Lindsay Park is the anchor, and it's always had 2 courses in the main part of the park. And then when the Dogwood came along, I think we mentioned this last week, it was a game changer for Texas disc golf. It was a very tightly wooded style of gold level course. And now there's some surrounding courses to where when things are clicking on all cylinders, there's places for amateurs to play, age protected to play. And then we saw the pro open men and women play in the Dogwood exclusively. And it was interesting because the top players in the world thrown into this style of golf on a repeated basis. I think at the IGGC, the Jackson has a similar style and feel, and it produced some great golf. I know I enjoyed playing Steve O'Story and the crew there at the Louisville station for Dynamic Disc. Those guys are veteran tournament directors, and they did a great job. And it's the PDGA National Tour kickoff. And I got to give a shout out because, trophies mean a lot, especially when there's something special. This is last year's. I won, was lucky enough to win one of these last year, but the winners this year got something similar. I mean, look at this. Talk about Texas style. I mean,
Belt buckle.
These are handmade right there in Tyler, Texas. They teamed up with Molly's custom silver belt buckles. Molly's is world famous in the belt buckle country industry, right? I mean, they make trophies for professional rodeo and anybody else anybody that wants a really fancy, expensive belt buckle. So congratulations.
Have you worn the belt buckle?
That's a fantastic question. Believe it or not, I actually bought a belt to go with this yesterday. I was up in Austin to practice for the Lone Star Classic. I stopped into Cavender's, got myself a big leather belt, and then just a side twist on this. Austin, Texas, unfortunately, is having a major issue in the homeless side of things. They decriminalized the ability to pop and put up tents, within the city. And much like we've seen in some other cities like San Francisco and other areas, there are tent city communities underneath underpasses. And, my PSA is that, we really need to spend so much more money on mental health in this country. But I came out of Cavender's to seeing a tent on fire underneath the overpass away across from the parking lot. Instinctually, I went over there and I looked around and I saw some people taking video, and I'm like, has anybody checked the tent? And when the people said no, I couldn't help myself. I ran right into danger, and I ripped open the side. It was all covered up in tarps, and I ripped open the side to make sure that there was nobody in there. And thank goodness there wasn't. But that thing, as soon as I got out of there, unfortunately, I breathed in some bad stuff and had some issues breathing last night, but we're good now. And nobody was there, and the thing went up, in a heartbeat. It was wild. And that's not the first time that's happened in the last couple months. So, man. Anyway, sorry for that sidebar, but that was what was going on in my life.
Yeah, I mean, you think about the pandemic, and like we talk so much about how great things are in disc golf right now. Companies are making more money than ever before. People are expanding. It might be hard to get discs, but if you're in the industry or if you're a player, it's a good time to be in disc golf. And we really are seeing in this pandemic time a dichotomy between the people who are able to work from home or, have their industry having tailwinds to help, see the expansion, outdoor sport like disc golf, compared to people who are really struggling. And it's hard. I mean, I don't think we need to try to get into a policy conversation about how to deal with that. But it's one of the things to keep in mind. If you're privileged enough to be able to play disc golf and enjoy, working from home and be able to get out on the course a lot, see if you can give some money to help out those less fortunate. And keep in mind that we enjoy a lot of privileges as those of us who are able to work from home.
Absolutely. And we circle back to Tyler, and Tyler, the community really did a fantastic job of taking care of bringing out a lot of helpers and volunteers in an event that was just, screaming for spectators at this point. Great barbecue joints in town, and a lot of good food was to be had, and the fish were fighting. Des, my wife, actually, I got to give her credit here. She caught more bass than I did at the end of the day, but Tyler produced. We had a good time at Texas State's.
Well, it was an interesting tournament as well. Ricky Wysocki, coming off of his win at the Open at Belton on the Silver Series, gets his 15th National Tour victory, winning the Texas State Championships. And after a kind of a slow start to the year, Haley King pulls away in the final round and gets a resounding victory. I know she won the Pro Tour Championship last year, and you certainly don't take anything away from that, but I still think there is something to winning a normal stroke play event on the Elite Series that counts. And so this is Haley King's first, regular season victory. And, and she looked really good doing it. So cool to see. I mean, I think we all know that Haley King has a ton of potential. And we saw it on display this weekend as she just looked much more comfortable in the woods than a lot of the other players in the division.
Yeah, and we should have had some foresight there, honestly, because, she grew up in Wisconsin, and there is a lot of great wooded courses that you can develop and learn those skills. Barry Schultz comes out of Wisconsin. He's one of the greatest woods leopard throwers of all time. And, Haley, played a lot of those coming in. So strong showing. came out with a victory that she didn't even have to sweat too much down the stretch. She had a hiccup, I think, on hole 15 where I actually had walked out there by that time and got to witness and I hadn't really had the scores fully enveloped. I was studying the men's side still. And when I came out, I was like watching Haley kind of struggle through this one hole. And we're like, wow, this could mount up. There's still several holes to go. But she actually had the tournament fairly well in control at that point. So
that's right.
To see her composure of like, yep, I had a rough hole. And like most people have been saying, right, you are going to have a rough hole at Dogwood. And if you can accept that and deal with it, you can build upon the positives. And that's what Haley did.
Absolutely. Great on the putting green. Yeah, she actually went 3 over in the last 5 holes, including the double bogey on 14 that you were just talking about.
14.
But she still won by 3 strokes. So, she just was comfortably ahead at that point. Holly Finley, also a great woods player. Tend to see her come up to the top of the leaderboard at events like this, and that's what she did again. She finished in 2nd place. And Rebecca Cox finished in 3rd, 4 shots back of Haley King. So, I think I heard some players, and we'll talk MPO in a second, and Ricky Wysocki will be joining us a little bit later in the show. I heard some players complaining a bit about this course and having to play in the woods. I saw some people online complaining here and there about, not being able to see as well on the live broadcast because of the wooded nature of the course. And I don't know that I love every hole out there, but I have to say, I think it's really nice and refreshing to see a very different style of course this early in the year, instead of just constantly seeing wide open courses at, kind of up until the players get to the East Coast. And it's nice to come off of the early desert wide open hyzer fest. And then you get, Waco with sort of this blend, Belton, which is more open. And then boom, we're into the deep woods at Dogwood. And I think it was kind of a nice, refreshing style and a chance to watch players who maybe don't excel with their hyzer distance be able to compete at the top of the leaderboard. And I think that was very, very cool to see. And so if you're a player and you're complaining about having to play in the woods, well, maybe you need to practice more in the woods. That's kind of the way I see it.
We don't have to look any farther than the women's division right there that we had, I think both of our sets of picks were kind of blown out this week on the women's side, right? I mean, they, like you're saying, another level of player that was able to kind of come in and excel in the woods. I think it's healthy to have an event like that. Now, there was a combo course is what they called it, that were a full 18 holes that utilized both sets of courses that are out amongst the park. I think at one point that might have been in the mix for potentially using that as one of the 3 rounds. But there also is some issues with that combo course. That's something that the locals love, but it's also got a major pyramid hole that, probably has no business being in an elite series kind of an event. Some long walks, some things. So, I don't necessarily know if the Texas State Championship happens in Tyler again. I don't know if we will see all 3 rounds in Dogwood. I know I was okay with it. I think it's a good mix, and I'm pretty sure the guys that you heard that were complaining are probably the guys that like big open courses. Just saying.
Probably. But yeah, no, our picks, got blown up a little bit. I feel like I made a huge mistake not picking Holly Finley to my top 5. I have to say, tip of the cap to Haley King for getting the win this weekend. But I didn't think that she looked like she was really in form yet this year. This changes everything for me. She looked very sharp, and I think she's clearly now gotten to the point where she looks like she's comfortable back, on the course after having some shaky moments in the first couple tournaments of the year. But, we got to be honest. And I think I pointed this out in the live broadcast. Paige Pierce ends up finishing outside of the top 10. 4 over on the weekend, 11 strokes behind King. And, she had some great moments. She got an eagle here and there, but also took some bogeys. And I think her style of play doesn't always work perfectly in these tight woods, which I think is, maybe an area of her game that she can still improve. Not that there's a lot that she needs to do to get better, but I think you're seeing at a course like this, where distance becomes much less of a factor, that she's not a world beater like she is on the open courses.
Yeah, and Paige, I've told this story through the couple weeks here so far, and I'm going to continue to press on it because we've lived this lifestyle, and I've watched Des have a lot of outside distractions, and Paige is doing Paige things right now to where she is capitalizing and trying to build this momentum with her brand. And, she had a Thunderbird bar come out in Waco. She actually had a personal camera crew following her around in the woods during every round, which cannot be anything but looked at as a distraction of some sorts, right?
Yeah, I would think so. Hard. I mean, she's used to playing in front of the cameras, but maybe there's a little bit of an extra pressure there. And we talked about it a couple weeks ago with the chase for 1,000 rating. How much additional pressure is that creating? And now with back-to-back events where she hasn't played her best, I don't know if that 1,000 rating's in the cards. We'll have to see what happens and which rounds get dropped off, and but that'll be interesting to keep an eye on. But yeah, very, very interesting tournament overall. And on the MPO side, I mean, obviously Ricky Wysocki's so impressive, not just because he won back-to-back events, but because of the stylistic differences between the two events, and just he's now played 2 tournaments in a row where his back nine in the final round, when the pressure was on, was like the best golf we've seen all year from anybody in 2 events in a row. I mean, he was unbelievable down the stretch, and you kept thinking, well, maybe he can, just lay up here, but instead he goes and he birdies 7 straight to close out the tournament. Really impressive stuff from Ricky Wysocki, who in my mind, is playing the best golf that we've seen him play since his World Championship years. I don't think there's even a question right now.
He's putting it all together. I think the Lyme disease factor for Ricky, even though it is a setback, and it may still be a setback, right? I mean, Lyme disease is one of these things that doesn't go away. It's in there somewhere, and the idea is to suppress it. You do not want it to flare up, because it is one of those diseases to where it affects your energy level and your joints. And these are 2 big things that come into huge play in disc golf, especially when these events get to be longer courses on multiple days. So I think Ricky really took this. I gave him a call back when he had Lyme's disease as a lifetime outdoorsman. Ticks and Lyme's disease is always on Des and I's forefront when we're having a great time in the place we love to be, out in the woods. And so I knew how serious this was. And I encouraged Ricky to come on, man, there are some proven scientific, sides to this. And Ricky went the holistic method, and I'm all about holistic medicine as well. I didn't know, really much about it on the Lyme's disease treatment side, but I'll give his caregivers and himself a lot of credit. It sounds like it was a lot of diet-based attacking of the disease, and you can tell, right? Ricky looked super healthy this year, and I think he's been, working really hard on battling it and the physical development, and I think those are just ended up being, it's never a great thing to have Lyme's disease, that's for sure, but I think Ricky did a wild job of just being able to kind of keep it in control at this point, and he keeps this up. Yeah, I see a player of 2021 starting to develop.
I mean, it's definitely possible, and we know that with Worlds in Utah, where he's played well in the past on some of the courses that are going to be on, that Worlds couple of tracks, I think that he's got a very good chance of claiming his 3rd World Championship, given the way that he's playing right now. I mean, his putter. He was the best putter on the weekend. He shot the hot round in the final round. He was 100% from circle one on the weekend, and he was 62% from circle two. Okay? I mean, these are elite Ricky Wysocki-esque, if I may, numbers. Now, here's a question. Outside of Ricky winning, in the MPO side, what do you see as the biggest story coming out of Texas State's? I think there's a couple options here, but I'm curious what you think.
Yeah, I think there are here. I know in my picks I picked the people who I thought were good in the woods, things like that. There's a couple players though that surprised me, and they probably shouldn't have, right? One of them for sure, and that's Matt Oram. Matt Oram, he's been around for a long time. In fact, he is really considered the Southern National King, the MVP, right?
Yeah.
Matt Oram, and the guy's got skills for days, and he started as a youth out of Alabama. His father, who Jim Oram, rest in peace, brother. He passed away last year in 2020, and Jim was a major mover and shaker amongst the southern states. He owned a business called Sky South. And I was witness to this young Matt Oram in 2004 at the Birmingham, Alabama tax tourney. And the sheer focus and determination that Matt brought to the game, he won his first A-tier that year. And you could tell this guy was going to be around. And he's had, he's done his own thing, right? He's played Southern National tournaments, which often are B-tier style of events. And he's done great in all of those. And it's not for real lack of competition. There's some incredible players in the Southern National Tour swing that just don't make it into the PDGA fold. But Matt's one of those that bounces back and forth. And when we see him focus on the PDGA side, he can hang with the best players at any time in the last, decade and a half.
No question.
And so Matty O did his thing. I think he's running on some power. He's bringing, Jim along with him. And man, I hope he stays out on tour, because I see great things for Matt Oram for the future of the rest of the tour. And then Casey White, we got to talk about Casey White.
Absolutely.
Yep. And he's another player that, regional, talk about NEFA, the New England Frisbee Association. NEFA is all of the New England states up there. So it's another tightly knit community that not only do they compete amongst themselves, some of those states are smaller in size. So it's very easy to travel to 3 states in a weekend and play in an event there. But Casey comes out of Massachusetts. Massachusetts has had a tremendous amount of focus over the last 10 years due to Marshall Street and Maple Hill, and just some great players that are building the game in Massachusetts. So Casey White, one of those guys we're going to see a bunch as well. I mean, he's hasn't been around a long time. He only played amateur for a couple years. And he got 3rd place in 2017 at the Junior World Championship. So not exactly sure of the age, but that means he was 18 or under. So young man there, turned right around in 2 years, won his first A-tier, and that was in 2019. So here we are in 2021. Casey's out on tour. I think he's looking to show the world who Casey White is. And, we know he's a great player and a good dude.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I think a lot of people got introduced to Casey White through Simon Lazat's YouTube channel, where he's made quite a few appearances at this point. He played a number of events last year, but he was finishing in the 30 to 50 range most of the time. And that's how he got his 2021 started as well. He was 43rd at Las Vegas. He was 54th at Waco. So, he's a solid player, but now it's been back-to-back events. He was tied for 6th at the Open at Belton, tied for 8th this weekend at the Texas State Championships. And that's off of a first round in Tyler where he shot 10 under, bogey free, and was leading the tournament. So I think you're seeing the glimpses of Casey White, becoming a player who is going to finish up inside that top 10, maybe top 5 at some point. Going to be very interesting to see how, that he develops as a player. But tons of promise.
Yeah.
And I think you can see it in his YouTube rounds on Simon's channel. No surprise to see him looking comfortable in the woods.
Yeah, and UDIS doesn't keep this stat. I think I talked about it when I chose Chris Dickerson as my winner last week. Casey as well, kind of rookie on tour. Chris Dickerson, even though he's been around for a while, he's a rookie on tour. What people might not understand is that life on the road is incredible, but it's tremendously difficult. You are in the process of the basics of life. Where am I going to stay? What am I going to eat? How am I going to stay warm? And how am I going to stay dry? Those things are a daily occurrence, right? We take those for granted when we've got shelter and we're living out of our houses, right? So I think we're going to see Chris Dickerson, Casey White, as they get their tour legs underneath them and they kind of figure out the strategies that it takes to live on the road, maybe out of a van, all these different things that are coming in. We'll see some of those rookies start to embrace the road and have their game show through.
Yeah. I think we're going to see more and more names that we haven't necessarily seen consistently on tour rising up to the top. But, lots of stalwarts up there in that top 10 this weekend. When you look down through it, obviously Matt Oram finished in second place. Macbeth, though, in third. Dickerson tied for third with Macbeth. Then you have Garrett Gerthy, Calvin Heimberg, and Kevin Jones tied for fifth. James Conrad, Eagle McMahon, Casey White tied for eighth. So lots of the names that we see as kind of those top 10 type guys end up at the end of the weekend, even if there were some ups and downs along the way, finishing inside that top 10. I was especially impressed with Eagle McMahon, who got his tournament off to kind of a brutal start. He opens up in his first round. He gets 2 birdies on 3 and 4, but then goes double bogey, bogey, par, double bogey. And you're thinking, oh my gosh, like Eagle looking really uncomfortable in the woods, something that's maybe plagued him a little bit as an elite level player. And then he got 11 to 18 all birdies. So still a little up and down for him overall, but I think for him to get that kind of a start, but still end up finishing comfortably inside the top 10, this is where Eagle McMahon is showing you that, he can be that top tier player. It's just going to have to be, you got to be able to consistently put together full solid rounds, not just play great for 9 at a time. And that's, I think on certain courses, Eagle does that, but still a work in progress on some of these more wooded courses.
Well, I got to give you credit, Charlie. I mean, you did pick the MPO winner this week. A couple other your players got in there, but you get big points for the overall, right? I ended up.
Take it.
Go ahead. Yeah, I ended up with 4 of the 5, so I'll give myself a thumbs up as well, with a couple out of the box picks in there that we haven't seen. And Kevin Jones quite
Nathan
up there.
Queen in your top 5, and he wasn't far off. I mean, he was tied for 11th. He's actually played some great golf the last couple weeks. Somebody to keep an eye on as we go through this season. Hasn't really been up at the top, threatening to win a tournament yet, but looking quite sharp these last 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Bradley
definitely.
Williams at number 2 though, so that was my miss. But otherwise, it was a really interesting weekend, and I think we're gonna get a chance to talk about it a little bit more right now with the winner in the MPO division, Ricky Wysocki. He's joining us next, so stay with us. It's the Upshot. The Upshot is presented by Pound Disc Golf, makers of the best bags in the sport. Set your calendar. April 1st, 12 p.m. Pacific, that's Thursday. Custom programs reopening. And remember, they've got twice as many spots open as before. but their last release still sold out in under 24 hours. You got to be ready to go. So set your alarm, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific, April 1st. Get yourself a custom Octothorpe, a custom Carlton, whatever you're looking for today. Visit pounddiscgolf.com for more information. Joining us now on the Upshot is the 2021 Texas State Disc Golf Champion, Ricky Wysocki. Ricky, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys. I'm excited to join you and see what we have in store for today.
Well, great. We're happy to have you here. We thought about trying to have you on after the Belton tournament, but now we get the back-to-back win. And so I guess one of the first things I want to know is, like, winning the national tour event, does it feel any different than winning a pro tour event?
No, I think they're on similar levels nowadays. National tour used to always be the event. That was, the national tour was the tour that you based your, like, as a top player, you base your tour off of, where the national tour stops. And then you fill in all your other smaller A tiers in after that. But now it's basically just national tour, and pro tours are basically on the same level as far as the field size, the payouts, the way the sponsors look at them for bonus structure, the media that's there. So I think national tour and pro tour are on the similar levels. And I think that it's a great, just as good of a feeling to win a national tour as it is a pro tour.
And, you've clearly been playing some of your best disc golf in a while. I mean, you're coming off of a final round. You shot 1078 rated round to close it out at the Texas State Championships. You talked about how you feel like you play well in Texas. And so as we come out of this, this Texas swing here, where do you feel like your game is relative to how you've played in the past? I mean, obviously you've had some tremendous seasons, world championships. Are you at that level right now, or do you feel like there's still more in the tank?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm playing at a really high level, and for me, with my confidence, it's an amazing feeling, because the Open at Belton was a wide, pretty much open course, bomber course, and so that was one style of play that you kind of have to critique, or you have to kind of base your game around that. Practicing for the week, you're trying to throw hard, trying to throw far. And so that's, something that during the week of practice, I'm working on that, trying to get more power, trying to get more distance, working on my distance angles and stuff like that. And then going to a course like Texas State's, I'm toning it down a little bit. I'm trying to hit gaps. I'm making my swing a little bit more compact, really focusing on the wood shots, and there's really no shots we're throwing as hard as we can on most of those shots. So I think it's a big confidence builder, just with knowing that I can throw all the shots in all the different course styles as well. And as you get through a long season, sometimes you play in Vegas, sometimes you play at Texas State's like this week, and all courses in between. There's some are wooded, some are semi-wooded and semi-open. And so just the fact that I played well in two basically opposite courses is a big confidence booster for my game.
Yeah, Saki bomb goes back-to-back weekends, man.
Yeah.
Ricky, that was hot golf. Did I read this is your 15th national tour victory? Yeah.
Yes, I saw that too. That's awesome to see that number go up with this week. And it's national. Like I said, there's it's great to be a part of a lot of company. I'm sure Nate has a lot of national tours. Me, Kalimo. I mean, obviously Paul, I think he's got like 20 or something. So it's, join some good company with the amount of wins I'm getting on the national tour.
So, Rick, we're this show is having a good segment talking about the educational disc golf experience and youth, and bringing new players into the game. And me knowing your history, when we go back to Medina, Ohio, and when you got your start as a junior, can you tell us a little bit about how you feel that you, as a young a player that had some mentors, and how did you develop as a junior player, like in school or out of school? How was that connected?
No, it was mostly for me. It was out of school because I was homeschooled, but I was always a young kid going to the course, playing with the playing the, local leagues with the older folks, and, having them help me out. They were super supportive and stuff. And then, working my way up, practicing a lot, and then working my way up to like going to worlds. I loved playing with kids my age. And so I think that was a huge eye opener for me. Like, hey, there's other kids that do this too. You can share experiences, and it's a lot more fun when you're sharing, experiences and, loving the game with people your age. And so I think that like what you guys are doing is so awesome, because future generations will be able to go out and play with their friends a lot more. They're not the only ones that play disc golf in their school or in their age, in their friend group, So I think that's going to grow the sport just in itself, is the fact that there's more of those. And then and it'll just compound from there. Like, there's more and more kids that want to get involved and stay involved because they have kids to play with their age, which I didn't really have that much. And it's awesome that you're doing that. And so the future generations can have, kids their age, and their parents are more supportive because they're playing with kids their age, as opposed to, the older generation of people, which is fine. And they're super helpful. The disc golf community is awesome. But for a newer player, to have that similarities with the kids their age and sharing those experiences can be such a huge social thing. And even like me being homeschooled, you can still, you can get homeschool groups involved. And I know my siblings are still in homeschooling. It's something where maybe down the road you get involved in the homeschooling group to where they go out disc golfing on their date because they want to interact with kids their age. So, you have a homeschooling group that goes out once or twice a week and does a little homeschool league or something like that, plays disc golf. And so that's something that could potentially happen, and doesn't have to just be schools. You can be, a program to where even kids that are homeschooled, and like, which are a lot of kids are doing now with the COVID stuff. So I think that it's awesome what you're doing, and it's definitely something I can relate to for sure.
Yeah, it's happening more and more out there, and we have been working with quite a few groups that are doing homeschooling themselves, or it seems like nowadays, even because of COVID and things, groups of families are getting together to share educational ideas and things. And this is where we're getting, van loads of kids that are like, all right, we're going to do physical education. What should we do today? Well, we'll take a hike. Yeah. Should we take a hike and throw things?
Yeah.
Why not?
Exactly.
Why?
Mm-hmm.
So you were saying really that even though you had some older mentors and stuff around Medina, it really wasn't until you went to larger events where you actually were able to play with peers of your own age, which I think that part of it is changing locally, right? Even in Medina now, they do even a junior league and things. So we're stepping into that modern era. Do you think that your time spent in Ohio and then in the woods of North Carolina and now in the wide open spaces of Arizona, even though you travel all over, these are the places that you train in the off season? Do you think those various geographical areas really helped you develop your ability to attack a wide open course versus a wooded course?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. I mean, like you said, I grew up in Ohio, super wooded courses. So my game kind of developed around that. And then the more you started traveling, the more to local, Michigan, Indiana, you start seeing more courses, seeing more different hole styles and stuff like that. And like you said, the last, 4 or 5 years, I've been in Arizona for my off season. And so, that's wide open hyzer bombs, so that's something to where, you start learning how to throw that, changing your game week in, week out, just a little bit here and there. And that's all about making those slight adjustments, in practice, and saying, hey, this week is gonna be a lot of bombs. So let's, increase my timing, get my arm speed up, and really focus on that kind of stuff. And then, like I said earlier, getting in the woods, slow your timing down, make everything more compact, focus on just hitting gaps and not really, disking up and throwing softer and that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, I think that's a big contributor, as you just be me playing so many courses, practicing so many courses, throwing so many shots and all the different course styles makes such a big difference, as opposed to just being from one area and just staying in that one area, going to play tournaments once in a while and then going back to your home course and keep throwing those shots. So I think that the traveling and being able to, the luxury of being on tour and traveling has just paid off immensely.
Ricky, if we go back about a year, I mean, literally just over a year from now, when the disc golf hit the pandemic hiatus, coming off of Waco in 2020, where you finished tied for 49th, one of your worst appearances in quite a while on tour. And after that point, I mean, you arguably have been the best player on tour. Aside from a tied for 17th here and there, you've been in the top 5 at almost every event, every Elite Series event. And now you've got, the back-to-back wins here in 2021. One of them may have been a Silver Series, but I mean, the field said otherwise.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I guess the big question I have is this a sign that you are fully back from Lyme disease, or is there something else going on that kind of helped you get back up to the top level of game that you'd shown in the past over this last year?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a combination of both things. I think it's a combination of me taking my health and wellness to the next level, and me and what that does is it helps treat Lyme disease. It helps keep it at bay and to where it's not bothering me, it's not flaring up my joints, and I'm able to just perform and play like I know I can. And then practicing routines, winning tournaments, and getting my game to a certain level. And it's just like anything, your game goes through changes. Sometimes you do certain, you do certain thing with your swing or your putt, and it may be off a little bit, and it may be off for weeks or months or a year or whatever it may be, and then you get back to something that you maybe forgot to do or whatever, and then and just like anything, your game changes, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. And so now that I've kind of clicked a couple things that I feel like I wasn't doing, and I'm starting to do it again with my form and my putting and my timing and all these different things, that I think it's repeatable. It's something I can consistently say, hey, this is what I was doing. It's working. I'm going to continue to do that. It's in the back of my head. And so I think the health, the supplements and stuff help my brain function and my mental clarity. When I get in high pressure situations, I feel like I handle the pressure really well. I feel like that's where I set myself apart too, is I'm just so even keeled. If I make a long putt or I get a bogey, I'm essentially treating that the same. I'm not going on the mental roller coaster of up and, making a long putt, getting an ace, or like, taking a double bogey. It's like, I'm smooth sailing. I know, if I stick to my game plan, if I throw the shots I know how to throw, and really not get too over the top or, too aggressive, or, so just my game plan and my mental attack is honestly what's been setting me apart just the last couple of weeks. I think it's going to continue to, and it just shows that, when you're a top level athlete, you got to take that stuff seriously and really control what you put in your body, know what foods you're eating, know how your body reacts to certain things. And so that's been honestly the biggest thing, and the biggest eye opener for me is just seeing it firsthand pay off.
Yeah. And I know when I saw you during the VPI, and I texted you, you're a friend, and I just was, I thought you looked the healthiest that I've ever seen you. And, I think all your hard work is really, showing off in spades at this point. So yeah, keep it going on that end.
Yeah. Thank you. You've been having trouble, right, Jay, too?
Sorry?
You were having some trouble too with your health, right?
It's the classic, knees always, hips. But
hips too?
Nope, that's my wife. My hips,
okay.
knock on wood. No, I'm doing back strong, healthy, unfortunately good. The foundation all comes from your ankles to your knees. And so the rest of this 280 pounds, has to work on these knees, but yeah, we're doing good. I'm feeling healthy. I'm playing some pretty good golf. Good. No, that's awesome. Good to hear.
So Ricky, you said on the in an interview before the Texas State Championship that you'd earned the right to be considered the favorite. So I guess I have to ask you, now that you've won that tournament and you've been in sort of top form this last couple of weeks, are you the favorite to win another world championship in a couple of months?
I mean, I would say so, for sure. I mean, I think that I'm a pretty humble person in general. So if I'm saying that means something is really clicking with my game, with my confidence. And so, like I said before last week, I said it for a reason. I felt confident. I felt like me winning at the Belton was totally repeatable. Sometimes people win and they're like, oh, I won. And, I feel like maybe, it's not repeatable, or they don't feel like they can win again or something. And so, it maybe been a Cinderella story or something like that. Whereas me, I won, and I know that the way my game was and the way I was playing, that I can do that again. And I can, definitely no reason to say that I'm not the favorite at Worlds, just with the way I'm playing and how everything's transpiring with my game, for sure.
So let's talk rivalries for a minute then. Or just, we have to say, right? I mean, you and Paul over the last decade has been, synonymous with, some of Barry Schultz and Ken Climo's battles, and you guys are able to match each other stroke for stroke. I thought the Belton match against you two was just an absolute classic for the ages. And one of the things I commented in the post of Belton was, I think it was on hole 9 where you threw your patented Ricky Wysocki forehand laser 400 plus. It was just gorgeous. But then Paul stepped up and he looked like Ricky and his forehand, and right. And we know that Paul knew that was kind of a weak spot in his game. And I'm pretty sure he studied you and said, I'm going after it, right? Because I need this in my game. Is there something that you have picked up off of, say, Paul Macbeth that has tightened your game up?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I think that, when you're competing with someone that good and, they're a competitor and stuff, but you also look at him as like, hey, he's doing something right too. What can I learn, or how can I get better? And so, yeah, I think his backhand is obviously, I feel like that's where I separated myself, is with my sidearm. And he separates himself with the consistency of his backhand and how good his form is. So there's definitely things I look at and say, hey, like, he does this really well. How can I incorporate that in my form? So there's certain things with timing, arm swing, and reach back, all that different stuff that he does really well that, when it's not heat of the moment battle, I'm going back and I'm potentially looking at it and saying, hey, this works out really well for him, just probably like he did with my sidearm, and he got really good at it and improved on it. And so, yeah, as much as we are competitors, we're learning from each other also, just subconsciously, being around each other and playing at high levels for such a long time. So that's a really good point you made.
This brings up a sort of a follow-up to that. If you could take one element of another player's game and add it to your own, what would it be? And
great
from
question.
who?
I'd say Chris Dickerson's consistency. He's always releasing the disc just in general. He's always releasing the disc on the correct angle. He's always seems to make the right disc choice. His speed controls. He's not flying 50 feet past the basket. A lot of times he's just sliding up to the basket, which is it's hard. That's tough to do on a high level at a consistent clip. And so he's just always, his discs are always flying at the right angles. He just makes the right shot choices, and he's just such a consistent player with his, like I said, with everything about his game. And so I think that's honestly the most impressive thing that I could take from a player for sure.
What was more satisfying, going head to head with Macbeth and getting the win at Belton, a Silver Series event, or coming out and, pulling away in the final round and winning the first national tour event in almost 18 months?
Honestly, it's such a weird thing, but I think the Belton win was just for the battle, the way it turned out was like more impressive in my book. Like you said, it was the Silver Series event, but the field, the course, the way it turned out, the spectators, it felt like it was almost a bigger event. And that happens sometimes where you're just be like, obviously the national tour is a national tour. It's amazing win. The national tour has done a lot to market the tour and the points and all the different stuff that goes along with winning a national tour. But yeah, just the Belton, I think almost in my eyes was almost a better win. And so I think that's definitely something that some people may just look at the, NT and say it's a bigger event, must have been better to win that, which it is. But, just from a situational standpoint, I think the Belton was almost meant more.
Interesting. And, so the Texas State one, though, I want to make sure that we give you, really proper credit for that as well. That one, Belton came down to the wire. Texas State's, you kind of made that move. I mean, you birdied the last 7 holes. And at Dogwood, that is no guarantee. I don't care who you are. So you didn't take the foot off of the gas. I mean, what was your strategy there right down to the end where, all of a sudden you had this opportunity to like, okay, now I can separate, right? Not let anybody else have a chance to even come back in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, it basically after hole 8, I ended up bogeying hole 8. And I just kind of told myself like, hey, yeah, I know these are things are going to happen out here. Very rarely you're going to just smooth sail through a round out here at Dogwood. And so I just kind of use that as momentum. I'm like, all right, if I want to take control of this event, that means birdieing, a lot of these holes and pretty much all of them coming down the stretch because, if you're not, somebody else will. And so I just had to take the tournament into my own hands and not allow anybody else to make a move or this, that, and the other thing. That's the beauty of playing with the lead. If you can handle the pressure, play well, and really handle it situationally, the ball is in your court to win. It doesn't matter what anybody else does. If someone else birdies out, great, good for them. You still can win the tournament. And so that's the kind of mindset that I feel like that I'm in, and playing at a high level and battling with Paul and battling with all these top player, Eagle, Chris Dickerson, all these different top players that push you to play well because you know how good of players they are. You know that you can't let up because you never know what can happen. They can do the same, and they have potential to also birdie those holes. So it just goes back to the level of play and knowing that you have to do that to win. Obviously, I didn't technically have to birdie all the holes to win, but you never know. So, and it's just a law of averages. Eventually you might have to do that because someone else is pushing you in a future tournament. So it also boils back to the level of play and how many players are getting really good and playing consistently at a high level.
I'm guessing you played that course with like 5 discs.
Yeah, pretty much.
Am I right?
I didn't throw yeah, exactly.
What was your setup?
My setup was AVR, Firebird. I threw a lot of sidearm Firebirds, T-Bird, Rock, and I didn't really throw that many destroyers. I threw, a handful of destroyer shots, but not very much. But yeah, mostly AVRs, I would say, and Pig for the sidearm approaches, bending, around trees and hitting a lot of gaps. So I'd say AVR, Pig, Firebird, destroyer, and putting AVR. So which is the same mold as regular AVR. So yeah, it's all 4 or 5 molds. Like you said, it was the most commonly used disc and different combinations of them. A beat up AVR versus a brand new one. But I think the most important shot out there, it seems like, is like a 290-foot like turnover mid-ranger putter straight to turnover, because there's like 3 or 4 of those holes that like super wooded. But if you can throw a good shot and hit your angle, you can get birdie putts. And over 3 rounds, those holes can add up if you're birdieing them versus not birdieing them.
I love your tip for really, the listeners, if they picked up on that, Ricky really emphasized now twice, is slower speed discs for the woods, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's so many different benefits to it. I mean, if you're throwing, a high speed driver or something on a like 200 something foot hole and you get a kick, you're going to kick farther in the woods. So not that you're trying to hit trees, but if you do, you're going to get a less of a kick. Your disc isn't as fast. And so I've noticed that when you kick off trees, I'm sure you'd obviously notice that too, Jay, when you're hitting with the driver versus a mid-range or putter, you're not bouncing as far as into the crap, and you have a better chance to get up and down for a par. And so those are little things in your head that all right, hit the gap. You're obviously focused on one thing, and that's hitting the gap. But if that doesn't happen, which sometimes it doesn't out there, you can get an unlucky kick or something. That those bad luck kicks can happen, and so like I said, just slowing down your arm speed and focusing on just hitting the gaps and not necessarily focus on like blasting to the basket. Maybe focus on sliding up to the basket and that kind of stuff. And so that's speed control thing, which comes, like I said, with timing of your run up and arm speed and all that stuff. So yeah, that's something where you work on that kind of stuff in practice, but leading up to the event.
You've been on tour now for quite a while. How have you seen the tour change since early in your career to now, as we've seen the huge growth of disc golf over the last 12 months and, just all of the new media coverage? Like, what feels the most different to you now versus, say, 10 years ago?
Media, I think that's the biggest thing. Media, the amount of cameras out there, the amount of people that want to capture what we're doing as top players, that's amazing. And then, social media for the players, the media, like, GK Pro, Jomez, all these different, media outlets that are posted on YouTube, the Disc Golf Network. After I got done with the tournament, I think 10 or 20 cameras were on me, so it's like, it's awesome to be a face of the sport. It's a great feeling to win and get that exposure. But at the same time, it's almost like I feel like I'm out there representing disc golf, which I am, and the sport that we all love. So that's also another great feeling on top of the fact that I'm winning tournaments, is I get to represent the sport that I love. And just like any other casual player, if you're playing disc golf and love it, it's, if you can have the chance to represent it, it's great. But yeah, I think the media is the biggest thing. It's just showcasing what we can do, the professionalism, how we treat it as a professional sport, and then that portrays to the general public. with my health and wellness, with my practice routine, with all the videos coming out I try to do on YouTube and show, what goes into being a top player. It's not just showing up to the tournament and playing. There's so much more involved. It's not what it seems like some people think is, we just show up and then we play like this all the time. No, it takes, whole weeks of, years, 10, I've been playing 12 years. So it's like, but before a tournament, it's, Monday through Thursday or Friday, practicing all day, getting your shots dialed in for that certain course, making tweaks if you need to, making adjustments to your game, to your swing, to your disc choicing, all that different stuff. And, it takes time. You're practicing all day and then you're resting the right way, eating right. For me, I'm doing like ice baths after the round to make sure I'm not sore and it's not affecting my game in a negative way if I'm sore. And so, yeah, doing that, like I said, smoothies, making juices. And so all that stuff just goes hand in hand with playing well. And so it's not just like I go play around disc golf and that's it. I'm stretching beforehand, working out, trying to do disc golf strong, keeping my body in shape. And so there's just so many different facets that go into being a top level athlete to where, it's not just, I just show up on hole one and just start ripping discs,
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm curious, I've been talking to various businesses in disc golf about just the incredible level of demand right now. And I'm curious from your side as a pro player, are you feeling any of the effects of like the disc shortages or just the difficulty getting products that you need, or are you insulated from that because of your status?
To a certain extent, like if I'm I guess insulated, I guess that's a good word for it. But yeah, to a certain extent, like if I'm throwing discs, like, and it was really good about getting me discs I throw. And so they're really good about that. But as far as like ordering stuff, I have a tough time too. It's not just I'm just like, I don't get any special, like when they release the pigs, I don't know when they're going to release them. They don't even tell me.
They don't even tell you.
So yeah, they don't even tell me. So I have to, just like a general public, I got to go on there and say, hey, are they going to release them? When's it going to happen? Like try to log into Twitter, because I know they post on Twitter first before they post on all the other sites as to when they're releasing the pigs. So to answer your question, there is certain luxuries I get, but it's not as much as you would think. And I've always been the type of person that, it almost goes to the fact, like, since I have the luxury to do it, I don't actually do it, like take advantage of all these different things, which I could, like getting discs, doing certain things. And it's like a psychology thing to, like, once you have the luxury, you don't do it. But like, if you don't have it, you want it, and then once you get it, you're like, this is awesome. The fact that I could hit up Innova and be like, hey, I want this, that, and the other, and be all demanding, but it's just not my style. So it's kind of funny that it works like that, but yeah, it's definitely, a great problem to have for the sport, to have this many people wanting to support not just the players, but the companies, and then it just trickles down to everybody from there. And it's awesome.
Now it could be marketing strategy, right? I mean, Ricky might not know when those pigs are coming out because all of Ricky's adversaries are going to buy up all the pigs. So potentially he might not have his favorite disc.
yeah, exactly. That's funny. Yeah, no doubt about that.
But speaking of that, so you get to play with so many different styles of players and stuff. So outside of Paul Macbeth, who are a couple players that you really relish, like when they're on your card and you get excited about, and who are a couple players that they're man, it might be a tough round. I got to really focus.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, it just depends. There's certain people that you play with and you're like, oh, cool, I get to see how his game is. Like, it depends on the courses too, but like Eagle's a fun person to watch. He's very similar to my game. He throws, 500 plus backhands, 450 plus sidearms. He's a good putter, and well-rounded, he's got a well-rounded game. So he's really solid. And then, like I said, I talk a lot about Chris Dickerson, and he's just so consistent with his finishes, with his shots. I mean, everything about his game is just screams consistency. So he impresses me a lot with just the amount of times he hits gaps. He's a really good wooded player. If you're consistently hitting your angles, you can play in the woods, you can play in the open, and so that's a big thing. And so, yeah, I like him. I mean, let's see here, who else? Yeah, it's crazy. I've been playing a lot of new players this year. I mean, like in Iowa, you're playing with this 15-year-old Gannon Burr from Iowa. So it's cool to see the young generation getting up there. Casey White, it's great to see him playing well. I mean, he's just starting to get on tour, and And so it's great to see all these people working their way up and getting themselves in that situation to play on a lead card, even if you don't, of course you're rooting for them to play well and you're competing against them, wanting to beat them. But at the same time, when the tournament's over, you're like looking back like, cool, that's really cool that you're able to soak it in. Like, hey, it's cool that Casey got the chance to play on a lead card, see how it feels, see how, all the situational stuff when you're playing a lead card is at a very much greater scale than if you're, in 30th, 40th place. It's so much more in the spotlight, and it's a totally different game, and you have to learn to play with that pressure and those nerves. And so getting the experience for him is great for the younger generation like that.
When you saw the news about Paul Macbeth getting a 10-year, $10 million contract with Discraft, what did you think?
I was pumped. I mean, of course, I'm great for him. As an athlete, he's earned it. I mean, he's a great player. He's obviously one of the greatest of our generations to come. So it's like he's earned it as a player. I know what it takes to, if anybody does, I know what it takes to become a top level athlete like what he has done. And so it's great. I mean, I think it validates the sport in a lot of people's eyes. And so it's like, like we were talking about with Jay, with the younger generation, when you see people, just for example, like a video gamer making a ton of money off of streaming video games, then the kid talks to his mom. He's like, yeah, I can play video games because I can turn into so-and-so that makes, tons of money on this, YouTube stream from, filming video games. And so the same thing with disc golf. If a kid wants to get into disc golf, they're like, oh, look, Paul made this much money. There's a future for me. Now their parents can support them and say, oh, you're right. There is a future here. I can support you. I can take you to the disc golf course with your friends and whatever. And so it actually it inspires the future generation, which is good for the growth of the sport, good for the young kids that want a hobby to get into that could potentially turn into something if they dedicate themselves and really start practicing like you would in any other sport, baseball, football, basketball. And so I think it's great for everybody. And it's an awesome thing that disc golf is growing that much to where someone's has that much value, and it's just going to get better and better in the future with the way it's growing.
All right. Well, Ricky, I want to just say thanks so much for taking some time with us. Always enjoy chatting with you, and we'll let you get back to the rest of your day. I know you're back home, right? Yeah.
Just spending some time with the family, and I'm looking at some property actually to build a disc golf complex. So,
oh wow,
I'm looking at getting a bunch of land and getting a private course here started in South Carolina, somewhere near Spartanburg, Greenville area. And so that's one of my ventures. I'm going to get the land and hopefully work on the next, 5, it's going to take a while to build the course, but that's my goal.
That's very cool. Can you tell us anything else about what you're thinking in terms of the design, or you can have a pro shop? What's the? Yeah,
I think I want to try and do it big and put landscaping like BRP. I know Jay Redding's probably played BRP with the built up greens, water features, ponds. I want to do all that. I want it to be like a golf course. You go to a golf course, it's maintained. You switch the baskets once or twice a week or something. Do different pin spots. Awesome tee pads. Run some great tournaments, leagues, all that stuff, just to grow the sport. Potentially summer camps. Once I'm old enough to where I can be stable and have call that my property and sake bomb complex type of thing, and then do summer camps, grow the sport that way. And so, give the general public a venue that they can it's like a pay to play type deal. And I think that's going to be more popular once disc golf grows more. That at least the courses I'm playing in the public there's 5 or 10 people on a lot of these holes now, just going out with their friends. So many people are figuring out about disc golf. So if you're a dedicated disc golfer who wants to go out and get some practice without all the crowds, if you don't mind paying $5 or $10 on a nice private course, exactly. So I think that's something that disc golf is going to slowly start getting more and more involved with as the sport grows more.
Awesome. Well, very cool. Keep us posted, and thanks for joining us today.
Thanks guys. Thanks for the questions, Jay. Good chatting with y'all, and have a good session.
Ricky Wysocki with us here on the Upshot. We'll be right back. The Upshot is presented in part by DiscGolfAmerica.com, a clean and easy-to-use retail shop online. You've got a 5% rewards program, a picture, and a weight for every single disc. And look, the shipping prices can't be beat. $3.95 flat rate, and orders over $39, shipping is free. All that, plus you get 10% off if you use code UPSHOT. So check out discgolfamerica.com, use code UPSHOT, and get yourself some new discs for a great price. Welcome back to the Upshot. I have to say, I've been talking to Ricky Wysocki for, 6 years now or something. He is such a better, more comfortable interview now than he was even just a couple of years ago. It's amazing to see how much more, poise he has in front of the camera at this point. I mean, he's at the press conference before Texas State's like rocking huge sunglasses. He's got the hair all done up. He is looking like he's getting ready for the professional baseball season. But really cool. And I'll always enjoy talking to Ricky.
Yeah, what I know about that is that Ricky has worked tremendously hard on his public speaking, his communication, interpersonal communication skills, things like that. I created the PDGA National Tour Clinic series back in the early 2000s, and the idea was to give something back to the community and give them an opportunity to rub elbows with the top players, pick up some technique and learn from them. But I also had a little side twist in there, and it was to help our top players become better communicators. I noticed that Des and I were ones that were traveling around and doing all these clinics. And I just knew that, the place is huge. We need more people doing this. This is how we're going to grow and get bigger. And as a teacher and educator, I actually created a rubric, and I would sit back and we'd all go through. I'd have 4 clinic instructors, and I would grade them on their clinic performances. And I can say that Ricky was one of the players who consistently, didn't grade great on the content was the skill level was super, but the way that he communicated it was needed a lot of work, right? I mean, Ricky was one of the players that I remember in Oklahoma, and showing that beautiful forehand that he has was like, so I basically grip the disc like this, and then I do this, and it does that. And then everybody's like, wow. And then it's just like, man, we just need to get, some mechanics and, a little more speed, man. And so he's worked really hard on that. And I think Ricky is, I agree 100%. Yeah. Ricky's doing great on the communication side.
Speaking of your role as an educator, it's a chance for us now to talk a little bit about what you do as your day job, as the head of the Educational Disc Golf Experience. So for those who may not be familiar with it, can you just give the quick elevator pitch on what it is that Edge does and your efforts to grow the youth side of disc golf?
Yeah, the Educational Disc Golf Experience, or Edge Disc Golf, as we like to refer to it, is a nationally recognized 501c3, which is the highest charitable designation that a charity can have. That means that contributions are usually 100% tax deductible. And our organization is 100% publicly funded. So the more that folks, donate to Edge, the more Edge can do. And we've done a lot. We've got some great partners that work with us, none bigger than Innova Champion Discs, whose East Coast CEO, Harold Duvall, is, it's the disc golf education really isn't a new idea by any means, but to actually put words into action is the main thing that launches anything worthwhile in the business world. And Harold was one of the ones that got this team together of educators and world champions and subject matter specialists. And we hatched the Edge program. And to date, we have, we've put over 100,000 lightweight discs into kids' hands. We've introduced disc golf to several million children at this point. and through our partners like the PDGA and some of our strategic tournament charity program partners, like the National Amateur Disc Golf Tour, Russ Burns Disc Golf Monkey Tour, the Vermont Disc Golf Tour. There's quite a few partners in that program, and the PDGA's ability to allow us to give out some funding on their behalf. Edge now has awarded over $250,000 to schools and youth organizations in need. So we've got a full curriculum that's technique based, it's activity guide based, an instructional DVD, lightweight golf discs, everything from an after school program to what's really happening currently on a large scale is campus courses permanently going in the ground. So that's Edge Disc Golf, a lot of different levels.
I'm this is something that I think is super important. People talk a lot about the growth of the game, and coming from the ultimate frisbee world, I've seen how much that sport has grown with the youth side of things and the college side of things, and that still feels like a very under-tapped market for disc golf. So you've been doing this a while now. What do you see as the things that are most important for developing youth disc golf? Like, in my mind, it can't just be access to courses because, there's courses around. People could go play, but there's also golf courses around. And, if you're 10 years old, you're probably not going out to the golf course, and you're probably not going out to the disc golf course. So what is it going to take to get youth disc golf to become like a major sport? I mean, put major in quotation marks, but what do you see as kind of like the key elements to growing the youth side of the game?
Yeah, it's really strictly a numbers game. When you think about, one of the approaches that Edge has taken is, we hear the common hashtag, grow the sport, grow the sport, grow the sport. and yeah, the sport is one side of the game, and it's a big side, right? It's the PDGA competitive umbrella. Edge is really focused on growing the game. We want to look at disc golf for what it really is at the base level, and that is a healthy lifestyle choice that gets kids off the couch, outdoors and active, socially engaging each other, learning about etiquette, and recreating. When I taught at a alternative school, one of the psychological behavioral psychologists there, in order to participate in the PE program, they had to be on the gold level. So that was behavior indicative. And when I introduced disc golf and kids started wrapping their heads around like how much fun it was, to be amongst their peers instead of competing against kids of different, bullies and things like that. If we put them with their friends, they're recreating, they're walking, they're having a great time, and they don't even realize they're exercising. And the people, we charted behavioral change because kids wanted to play disc golf. And, not everyone's going to be a varsity athlete. Right. So disc golf tends to be very attractive to kids that maybe are introverted to like, wow, I can actually do this. And then that creates outwardly expression and admiration from maybe peers that might not have given them a chance. And I think that's a really attractive side to the game portion. Now to the sports side, what's going to happen, and people have been very anxious for this, we're finally to the tipping point where we do have enough schools going with Edge, and there's still so many more, we're barely scratching the surface still. But as Edge and UPlay and the PDGA Youth and Education, as these groups really start to keep getting schools involved and youth programs and camps and all these other outlets for youth, then we're going to start seeing that's the numbers game. We turn 100 kids on to the game of disc golf, and we hope that a bunch of them play recreationally for fun some point throughout their life.
Sure.
But we're going to turn on a small percentage of that actually want to like do this like a lot and a lot more and get better.
To be competitive. Yeah.
And that's where what you're talking about. I mean, that's where it won't be long to where the after school club starts to become competitive. And then there are other schools that teach Edge and disc golf that they can maybe start competing against. Will disc golf become a UIL, a state level recognized sport? I think so eventually. I don't think we want to push it there. It will happen. It'll happen because the numbers are correct.
Right.
You know,
Right.
yep. So I think that's where we just got to keep supporting the educational side and doing what we're doing. You know, Edge is always churning in the background, no matter what major's going on, no matter what else is happening. And I
Yeah.
think if people can get behind the program, whether, you know, and we can go over a number of ways that people can help out Edge. You know, this all is going on constantly. So, yeah, we're getting better.
I guess, you know, to be clear, I completely agree. I think the competitive sports side is not nearly as important as just creating access to playing the game at all, and just doing it for fun, which is, you know, I mean, let's be honest, that's what most adult players do too. You know, 10% maybe play competitively, maybe less than that. So, you know, what do you think are sort of the key elements of creating that access? Is it getting it into PE curriculums? Is it putting disc golf baskets on campuses? Is it running clinics at schools? Like, what if you could only do one thing to try to grow participation in the game with youth, what would it be?
Well, that's a real super tough question, Charlie, because everything you just mentioned on top of 5 other things are all what does it. But yeah, so breaking it down in a nutshell, it's what Edge and myself and our team have been doing, and that's maximum impact, teaching teachers how to teach disc golf. So I've, you know, now that COVID has lifted a little bit and I'm going to be vaccinated here shortly, and I've gotten my first, you know, engagement where Edge is going to be contracted out to a very large school district in Houston. And I will just be solo. I may, you know, bring in probably a local club member so I can teach them the skills that I have so they can do this when I'm not there. And we're going to teach, I think we're doing 4 hours in the morning. We'll teach 120 elementary teachers in the morning, and then we'll teach another 80 secondary teachers in the afternoon. And so that's 200 teachers in one day that are going to leave being very excited about disc golf, and we're going to implement them the skill sets to be able to teach that at their own schools. And so now you're talking about 500 students at this school, and a district
200.
of 10,000, right? And so the numbers just start exponentially growing. So I think that's your answer.
Got it. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I mean, I think there's more we can talk about on next week's show, some of the things that you're working on, but anything that you want to just point out real quick before we sign it off?
Yeah, I guess some exciting things that are in the works. You know, 2021 has been a super year coming out of the submersion here of 2020, and I'm going to throw out Bushnell Disc as a name. You're going to hear a lot more about here in the upcoming weeks, but Bushnell as a company is been very supportive of what Edge is doing as far as sustainability and growth of the game. So we're super excited about a project working with them, and we're going to have the Bushnell Rangefinder Charity Challenge that's going to be coming to the National Amateur Disc Golf Tour and a number of other partners the rest of the year. And we'll have some more information about that. Edge just signed on to be an official partner of the National Collegiate Disc Golf Championship, which is coming up in just a couple weeks. So next week would be a great time to talk about that. You know, we're I can give a number of things that people can do to help out Edge. You know, that's really probably something we can get people activated on. I mean, for one, just pure donations. You know, there's a PayPal website link right on the front page, which is edgediscgolf.org. You can donate. You can do an ongoing donation. We have a couple of folks that kind of like a Patreon type of thing where every month they have an automatic contribution to Edge, and all that funding goes to curriculum development and these conferences that are very expensive to attend, where we engage with teachers directly and you know, get people going with disc golf. Amazon Smile is one that easily can do. Everyone shops with Amazon. If you all the same purchase that you would normally make with Amazon, if you go to Amazon Smile and click Edge educational disc golf experience as your benefactor, we get a small percentage of that, but enough people use Amazon and that small percentage becomes large. Facebook birthday challenges are awesome. Challenge your friends to donate to your favorite charity, which, hopefully might be Edge Disc Golf. Throw an event. We have a tournament charity program that anybody can get involved in. This year, we're going to have close to 300 partners across the country. That program alone is awarded almost $200,000 in grants by itself. So lots of ways you can get involved. Go out and like the Edge Facebook page. That one's easy. I'm always kind of disgruntled that we only have like several thousand fans out there that are following all these cool stories that we post about, schools getting involved. Just like and follow, that all leads to more people being involved. So appreciate the time and the support for that. It's obviously something that's near and dear to me, but it should be near and dear to everybody. It's the future of our game. It's the future of our sport.
Yeah, and it's an underserved demographic right now inside of disc golf. So very cool. We'll talk more about it next week, and we're going to do a little Q&A with Jay on his final guest host episode next week. So if you have questions for him, you can ask them. Send us an email, upshot@oldzeaworld.com. If you're a subscriber, hit us up in the Discord, and we'll look forward to talking some shop with Jay on next week's show. We are going to sign it off here. Definitely join us for our subscriber bonus segment. We're going to talk about the Lone Star Classic coming up this weekend in Austin. It's a B tier, but it has $30,000 added cash. I did not misspeak. $30,000 added cash. It is the only B tier ever to be giving out USDGC spots as well. So very interesting tournament. We're going to talk about some of their sponsors and maybe what the future of tier designation could be for tournaments based on this kind of thing. Tito's Vodka, one of their sponsors, got a little quote from Tito's about their support of this event. So join us there. We've got an article up about the Lone Star Classic as well that you can check out on the website. If you want to become a subscriber, it's under $4 a month. You can go to discgolf.oldzeaworld.com/subscribe and check that out. So for Jay, I'm Charlie saying so long, and we'll talk to you next week right here on the Upshot.